社会融资规模增量为。
This is Radio Romania International. You are listening to our one-hour broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro Channel 1. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter and other social media platforms. Our programs are also available on TuneIn and via satellite Eutelsat 16A on 11,512 MHz vertical polarization, azimuth 16 degrees east. Symbol rate 29,950 mega symbols per second, standard DVB-S2, modulation 8 PSK, audio PID 510. We wish you good reception conditions.
I'm Rakamarasan with the news. The headlines. Romania's budget bill for 2021 has been finalized and will be made public on Wednesday. Registration for vaccination against COVID-19 will be resumed on Wednesday for all categories, included in the second stage, after it had been limited to vulnerable categories for a certain period of time. And the EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell recommended the adoption of new sanctions against Kremlin and announced his intention to make such a proposal to the EU member states. The state budget for 2021 has been finalized and will be made public on Wednesday. The budget is based on the 7% deficit of the GDP. The government plans to cut back on spending in order to reach this target. Consequently, holiday vouchers will be slashed this year, as well as 30% of the political parties' funding, while inefficient state companies will no longer be subsidized. Pensions will not be raised starting on January 1st, 2022. Child allowances will not go up this year either. The budget bill may be passed by the government next week and is likely to be endorsed by Parliament by February 20th. Registration for vaccination against COVID-19 will be resumed on Wednesday for all categories included in the second stage, after it had been limited to vulnerable categories for a certain period of time. Dr. Valeriu Gheorghiță, the chairman of the National Committee for Coordination of Activities on Vaccination against COVID-19, announced that so far Romania has received a total of over 1.2 million vaccine doses from Pfizer, Moderna and AstraZeneca. More than 667,000 people have been vaccinated, most with Pfizer vaccines. A new tranche of more than 128,000 doses of this vaccine arrived in Bucharest on Tuesday, and the vaccines are currently being distributed throughout the country. According to the delivery schedule, the next tranche will arrive on February 16th. Vaccines from Moderna have also been given to people in Romania for a week already. At the same time, the first tranche of the AstraZeneca vaccine was distributed in the country, which will be given only to people between 18 and 55 years old. On the other hand, almost 2,800 new cases of SARS-CoV-2 infection have been reported in the last 24 hours in Romania. The total number of contaminations is nearing 750,000, with the death toll exceeding 19,000. Almost 1,000 people are in ICUs. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell recommended on Tuesday in Brussels the adoption of new sanctions against Kremlin after the affront of the Russian foreign minister during his visit to Moscow, and announced his intention to make proposals in this regard to the member states, France Press reports. The official is to present his proposals to the EU foreign ministers at the February 22nd meeting. On Friday, Russia expelled 3 diplomats from Germany, Sweden and Poland for allegedly participating in support rallies for the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The announcement was made while the EU Foreign Policy Chief was on an official visit to Moscow. He claims he learned from the social media about the expulsion of the European diplomats while he was having talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. We recall that upon his recent return from Germany, where he was treated for poisoning, the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was arrested and sentenced to prison in Russia. He is to serve a sentence of 2 years and 8 months. World Health Organization officials have warned against the excessive pessimism over the AstraZeneca vaccine in the context in which the top priority is to limit hospitalizations and save lives. The efficiency of this vaccine, which has not yet obtained the World Health Organization's approval, but has still been green-lighted by the health authorities from several countries, has been doubted by people over 65. South Africa has indicated the possibility of a limited efficiency of the AstraZeneca vaccine for the local virus variant, which is considered more contagious. Meanwhile, in the EU, Spain decided on Tuesday to extend by March 2nd the restrictions for flights coming from the UK, Brazil, and South Africa for fear of the new variants of the novel coronavirus. Also on Tuesday, the Swedish government announced a plan to reduce the number of passengers for long-haul train and bus travel as part of the measures taken to limit the pandemic. In another development, the issue of lifting travel restrictions for the people who have been vaccinated is still controversial, and 27 member states are working on a common vaccination certificate. Israel and Greece have reached an agreement on tourism, which will allow the two countries' citizens who have been vaccinated to travel freely between the two countries. The Romanian Foreign Ministry informs the Romanian citizens who are transiting or intend to travel to Spain that the State Meteorological Agency has issued code orange and yellow alerts for storm, snowfalls, wind, and blizzard for some areas of Spain. At the same time, the Romanian Foreign Ministry informs that the Italian Civil Protection Service also issued a code orange alert for precipitations, wind, lightning, and hail, as well as a code yellow alert for heavy rainfalls and wind for several regions of the peninsula, valid on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Romanian Foreign Ministry recommends Romanian citizens to constantly consult the public information provided by the Spanish and Italian authorities and to strictly follow their recommendations. And that's the news.
The state budget for 2021 is not yet ready, although we're 40 days into the new year. I'm Vlad Palcu with a report by Bogdan Matei. The state budget for 2021 has been under constant debate these days, its adoption having been postponed again for next week. The ruling coalition government says the budget will observe a 7% deficit target, will support economic recovery and will cap unnecessary and excessive spending of public money. During the pandemic, the budget was strained by high healthcare costs, and building the new budget is difficult. Coalition leaders on Monday decided to further cut back on spending. They announced pensions won't be going up as planned in September this year, but starting January the 1st, 2022. In turn, employees in the public sector will see their holiday vouchers slashed this year. Certain bonuses may also be cut, such as the so-called COVID bonus, accounting for 30% of the base salary and awarded to employees in the prefect's offices. Meal allowances awarded to public sector employees could also be reduced. Child benefits won't go up this year, and the authorities are planning on reducing subsidized transport for students. Liberal leader Ludovic Orban tried to explain this package of measures, which many see as an austerity one. Increasing the pension point is based on a 100% offset of the decreasing purchasing power as a result of inflation, and increasing the purchasing power by increasing the pension point by 50% of the increase in the average national wage. No holiday vouchers will be issued this year, because last year's vouchers are valid over the course of 2021 as well, Ludovic Orban. This announcement added to the disgruntlement of the hospitality sector, where companies have been severely affected by pandemic-related measures. Losses in the sector run up to 7 billion euro, says Daniel Niskie, the president of the Organization of Employers in the Hospitality sector in Romania. Don't tourism units need help too? Don't they deserve compensations as well?
We're asking why a quarter of our venues stay closed today. First of all, they lack the financial resources. Secondly, they lack predictability. This industry accounts for 7% of Romania's active workforce. There are 400,000 people working in various parts of this sector. We account for 5% of Romania's GDP as well. Over the coming 3 months, the government must come up with a solution to offset all the restrictions taken against this industry. We don't see this happening. There is no greater urgency on the government's table right now, other than the 400,000 people waiting for help. Daniel Mischie. In turn, student organizations have called on the government not to cut back on its transport subsidies. Social Democrat leader Marcel Ciolacu has accused the coalition of implementing inconsistent policies and allocating funds randomly to serve their political clients.
Romania is stepping up its COVID vaccination with the opening of 180 new vaccination centers. I'm Cristina Matescu with a report by Eugen Coroianu. The pace of vaccination will speed up in Romania as deliveries of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine have started to arrive. The vaccine will be administered from the 15th of February, and 180 new vaccination hubs are being set up. Appointments will become available on Wednesday to persons eligible under Phase 2, namely people with chronic diseases and essential workers. Appointments can be made individually on the dedicated electronic platform by GPs or by calling a special hotline. In Romania, the AstraZeneca vaccine will for the time being only be administered to adults aged between 18 and 55. So far, Romania has mainly used the Pfizer-BioNTech and, since more recently, the Moderna vaccine. To boost the immunization process, the government has taken a series of measures with respect to the recruitment and payment of the vaccination staff. Consequently, healthcare facilities within the army will also be able to set up vaccination hubs, their funding being covered by the state budget. Moreover, financial incentives will be given to GPs who register their patients for vaccination and monitor their state of health. The healthcare staff working in vaccination centers must, however, respect the appointments made on the official platform and only give the vaccine to the eligible persons. While nationwide the opening of the new centers appears to be on schedule, problems have been recorded in some regions. In Vrancea County in the east, for example, 2 vaccination hubs could not be set up because of a shortage of staff. The county prefect says that despite the existence of legislation on the payment of doctors to deliver the vaccine, the latter do not wish to take part. In other vaccine-related news, according to a recent opinion poll, 55% of Romanians say they want to receive the COVID vaccine this year and believe mass immunization will put an end to the pandemic. 83% say, however, that vaccination is a personal choice, and almost 3/4 believe the benefits of vaccination are greater than the risks. Romania has the 14th highest vaccination rate in the world, with 4.41 doses administered to 100 persons, which is above the European average. And that was the Radio Newsreel.
The hit of the day on Radio Romania International. Listen to Only for Her, a song launched by Voltage Pop Group in late 2020.
Doar pentru ea, și aș pita cerul în culori. Aș deșira fularul de regrete, ce o sufoc în cer, doar pentru ea, mi te-aș fura. Doar pentru ea, îmi bate inima și nu pot să opri. Te iubesc, doar pentru ea. Doar pentru ea. pentru ea le-aș repara, doar pentru ea.
Listening to Radio Romania International.
Focus on Romania. Inside Romania.
Hello, I'm Priscilla Matescu, and today we're going to talk about an independent public art project called Labyrinth Halfway. A laborious work, this is the result of research and community art experiments conducted by visual artist Roxana Donaldson, visual arts researcher Cristina Irian, and Cristina Bodnorescu, who was in charge of putting the footage and ideas of the two artists together into a film that went on to be shown at a film and video festival called VKRS Bucharest. Cristina Irian tells us more about the whole project. This is both an artistic and a civic project, because it aims to provide an active response to the need to keep a community together in times of crisis, and symbolically salvage discarded flowers and turn them into works of art. I worked directly with bouquets of flowers Roxana got me from the market, from which I made 8 dolls, and which appeared to be dancing. In the second part of the project, I used the dolls and their shapes and added what I called poems in flowers. I kept a video record of the entire transformation of the bouquets of flowers. A performance was also created, and here's Roxana Donaldson telling us more about it.
Este un proiect artistic pe care noi l-am conceput ca fiind o...
We intended this project as an encounter between people and plants in an urban environment. We wanted to speak about the lives of people and that of flowers in these times of isolation and anxiety generated by the COVID pandemic. We wanted to see how people live and survive together in cities. The performance was inspired by the flowers discarded by the small local producers in markets last November. This was the starting point, and we ended up making a film and then turning the dried flowers into works of art. I'm an interdisciplinary visual artist, and I've always been interested in eco-art and plant art, and I wanted to create interdisciplinary and conceptual art with and about plants. The performance involved our meeting at the halfway point between her market and mine, where we each bought 10 flowers on the last day before the markets were closed. And so, when we met at this halfway point, which was on Labyrinth Street, we exchanged flowers. We basically gave each other flowers in the middle of the pandemic, during lockdown, at a time when the city was cold, empty and shut down. We filmed everything, including the sound of the city, because we wanted to create a record of our urban performance. The life of the flowers continued in their adopted homes, the artists' homes, and after drying out, they underwent a process of reinvention. Roxana Donaldson explains. I painted their story on canvas, writing in pen, rescued abandoned flowers, and these words blended into each other, becoming patches of color, and over these patches of color I sewed flowers, and thus created a work of art which I exhibited in the street as part of the second performance. I called it Flowers Were Here, because the flowers had returned to a place they'd been to before. We each left a work. Mine was a wall covering made from canvas with flowers, and hers was a doll made out of dried flowers. They remained on the wall where we exhibited them as part of this free art performance, which is all about putting your whole heart into the creation of pure art, art that is not regimented, and gifting it to the city, to the community, for free and unconditionally. Cristina Irian added,
Am început proiectul dimineața.
The first part of the project took place in the morning, the second in the afternoon, and the next thing is for us to meet for a third time on the same street, this time in the evening, to use the objects we created in a different way. I would focus on the shape of the dolls and the shadows they cast in an endeavor to reactivate the space. The third part of the project will have different components. A showing of a film on the life of the flowers which were transformed into works of art, an exhibition of new works into which the dried flowers are integrated, and a new urban performance. And that was Inside Romania. Let's listen next to a bit of music. Carmen Radulescu with a song called The Flowers from Last Summer.
This is Radio Romania International. Cultural events. Welcome everyone, I'm Vlad Balcu. Contemporary Romanian theatre has been playing an increasing role in our lives. Aura Corbanu, the Vice President of Romania's theatre union UNITER, has recently sat on the sidelines of the 29th edition of the Theatre Play of 2020 competition, which currently is underway. Only new plays that haven't been published or performed on stage so far can be enrolled in the competition. Stage adaptations are not eligible. The Theatre Play of the Year must remain a landmark of theatre life, even in times of pandemic, Aura Corbanu believes. The winner will be rewarded at the UNITER Awards Gala this year, an event devoted to the best performing professionals in the field of the performing arts. Radio Romania International has been widely covering the UNITER Awards Gala and all the changes that marked 2020. The participants of the 2020 edition agreed at the time that COVID-related changes have significantly altered the evolution of Romanian cultural life. Changes and adaptations had been operated even before the pandemic. For instance, 2 theatre writing MAs were created, one at the Theatre Arts University in Târgu Mureș and a second one at the University of Theatre and Cinema Arts in Bucharest. Expectations are running high, therefore, despite all the restrictions in place. The publication of all the plays selected in the competition has now become a tradition. State or private theatre directors, stage directors and their crews need to pay more attention to new plays and possibly turn the winner of the competition into a theatre play. The National Theatre in Bucharest has taken on this role in recent years. Ion Karamitru is the manager and also the chairman of UNITER, so he's somehow expected to spearhead efforts to promote Romanian contemporary theatre. Let us further note that theatres in Bucharest have reopened their gates to the public these days, amidst a decrease in the infection rate in the capital city and with the strict observance of all health safety regulations in place. All the tickets are sold out, Aura Curbanu told us. It was a period when all performing arts were on standby. We all need theatre, good plays, good performances. Together, we've been through a period of scares, concerns and unfulfilled wishes. We've changed, we adapted. 2020 was a complicated year, when every project needed double the amount of efforts to accomplish it. Every creator, every institution implementing cultural projects was forced to rethink their activity, either switching to online performances or to performances with 30 or 50% interior seating. We all understood that things won't be returning to their normal track anytime soon. I can only express my admiration for everyone representing the performing arts, both in the public and private sectors. They've always tried to support us during these difficult times, coming up with new formulas. After the March-May lockdown, we've seen remarkable results from people who wanted to come up with innovative ways of communicating with theatre enthusiasts. Aura Cordanu, Vice President of Romania's Theatre Union, wrapping up cultural event. Next in this program, sports.
Welcome to the Athlete of the Week on Radio Romania International. I'm Eugen Nasta. The double Romanian-Danish Champions League Women's Handball confrontation was held late last week. On Saturday, in Group A, CSM Bucharest grabbed the 28-26 home win against Team AIRSPY. While in Group B on Sunday, SCM Râmnicu grabbed the 26-25 win against Odense Handball away from home. So CSM are 4th placed in Group A, while SCM Râmnicu are 6th placed in Group B. Both teams stand a real chance to move past the league's group stage. The top scorer in the 2 games was Cristina Nagu, who scored no less than 7 goals for CSM Bucharest. Reason enough for Radio Romania International to designate Cristina Nagu the Athlete of the Week. Cristina Nagu was born on August 26, 1988 in Bucharest. She made her debut with School Sports Club number 5 as a junior athlete. Nagu was designated the world's best handballer several times, beginning 2005. We recall that back then Romania's national squad walked away with a silver medal at the European Under-21 Championships in Austria. Cristina Nagu was signed up by Roman Brasov in 2006. She then played for Old Team Râmnicu. In 2010, Cristina Nagu reached as far as the Champions League finals with Old Team. Old Team was dismantled and Cristina Nagu got signed by Buduknost Podgorica, with which she won the Champions League in 2015. Cristina Nagu has been playing for CSM Bucharest since 2017. Cristina Nagu has been the captain of the national squad since 2016. Her record with the national team includes a bronze medal won in the European Championships, jointly hosted by Denmark and Norway in 2010, and another bronze medal won in the World Championships in Denmark in 2015. In 2010, 2015, 2016 and 2018, the International Handball Federation designated Kristina Nagu the world's best handballer. Nagu thus became the world's first ever handballer in history to have won the trophy 4 times. And that's all from the Athlete of the Week on Radio Romania International. You can also access our sports items at rri.io and on Facebook.
Next in this broadcast, it's truly Romanian. I'm Cristina Mateescu, and today we're going to introduce you to one of the most popular singers of traditional music in Romania, Irina Login. She was born in 1939 in a village in southern Romania and inherited a passion for singing from her father. Let's begin with a well-known song from her repertoire called My Lover Ionel. Irina Login used to travel all over her native region together with her sister and record older members of the community singing old songs. She incorporated many of these songs, some of which have never been recorded before, into her repertoire. Let's listen to her next with a song called In My Youth. Irina Login made her official debut in 1960 at the local cultural centre, and 2 years later she joined the prestigious Topolia folk ensemble. She recorded her first song on the radio in 1964, and her first album appeared in 1965. This was followed by many TV appearances and lots of tours around the country. She became in fact so popular that she made Elena Ceausescu, the wife of Romania's communist dictator at the time, so jealous that she was banned from appearing on TV and giving concerts. Let's listen to another song called Time Passes. After the fall of the communist regime, Irina Login returned to the forefront of the local music scene, picking up where she left off. She recorded dozens of albums and worked with all the greatest singers, musicians and conductors. She is retired today, but still remains one of the most recognizable voices in Romania. Let's end this music program with a song called I Wish You Well.
La 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 la
in the program, new names on the cover.
Welcome to a new installment in our New Names on the Cover series. I'm your host, Eugen Mostar. Literature contest tailored for children. A poet turned novelist, a Radio Romania journalist writes a book about Iraq and Afghanistan, and but stay tuned for more. The National Museum of Romanian Literature in Iași has recently given the start to the Ion Creangă National Literary Creation Contest, the Stories section. According to the National Museum of Romanian Literature press release, the deadline for the submission of works for the contest's 29th edition is March the 20th, 2021. The contest is open for Romanian citizens who are not members of the Romanian Writers' Union, as well as for citizens of Republic of Moldova and Ukraine. According to tradition, the stories to be awarded in the aforementioned edition will be published in the volume titled The Boșdeucă Stories, the Hutch Stories, to be launched in 2022. The Ion Creangă National Literary Creation Contest, the Stories section, is made of 3 parts: stories written by children, stories written by teenagers, and stories written by adults. Candidates will post their works in a stamped envelope by March the 20th, 2021. Post date. The address is the National Museum of Romanian Literature, Iași, number 4 Vasile Bobor Street, code 700110. The authors will also have to include a CD in the stamped envelope with the electronic format of their works. Awards will be made public as part of the Zilele Boșdeucii, the Hutch Days, an event which is traditionally held between April the 14th and the 15th. The volume The Hutch Stories will also be launched from April the 14th to the 15th in 2021. The book includes text of the awardees in the 2020 edition of the contest. In the stories written by children section, children aged between 7 and 14 can submit their manuscripts. In the stories written by adolescents section, adolescents aged between 15 to 19 can submit their manuscripts, while in the contest stories written by adults section, people over 20 are invited to compete. The winners of any of the previous editions of the Ion Creangă National Literary Creation Contest, the stories section, are no longer entitled to participate in the 21 edition of the contest. Neither are they allowed to submit their manuscripts in any of the contest's future editions to the same section. However, prospective participants who have passed in a different age bracket can submit their manuscripts to sections that are superior chronologically. For example, in the stories written by adolescents or stories written by adults sections. Eve the Naive One, Eve cel Naiv in Romanian, is the literary pen name of a poet who has made a name for himself through his original and debunking poetry. The three publishers in Bucharest has proudly announced the publication of Eve the Naive One's debut novel. The novel will be available in bookshops in late February 2021. So far, Eve the Naive One has published 6 volumes of poetry, of which more than 25,000 copies have been sold. Here is what the editorial manager of the three publishers, Magdalena Mărcurescu, wrote about Eve the Naive One. Quote, "There is no greater joy other than working alongside this wonderful author who has decided to join our editorial staff. Inspired and extremely original, Eve the Naive One's prose has warmed the reader's heart, snatching them out of the daily routine, helping them out to shed to light that inner voice they had long forgotten, they had in putting a big smile on their faces. Reading helps us discover sixth sense through which we can better understand the world, and I'm dead positive this is the purpose of the book, and Eve the Naive One's writing fully succeeds to accomplish that. Joyful, brisk, and irresistible, Eve the Naive One's prose is sure to conquer the hearts of the Romanian readership, keeping them on their toes and providing a kind of pleasure not even the pandemic-generated worries can dent." Unquote. And here is what the writer himself, Eve the Naive One, Yevgen Naive in Romanian, wrote about his writer's experience. We quote, caught between the profession of father and that of copywriter, somewhere between the journey to the 5 continents and cooking using dozens of spices, time came when it dawned upon me that what I really wanted in life is write. I realized I wanted to write books and make a living as a writer. A beautiful dream for any living Romanian writer. A dream which, no matter how beautifully I write about it, I would never be able to make it come true being totally on my own. In order to be able to make a living as a writer, never has it been, nor is it now, enough to just sit down and write. So I decided to seek a partner to be with me along the journey I took to become a writer. So I picked the three publishers, and I keep my hopes high that together we shall succeed to add 1 on 1 and obtain 3, just as I think it would be perfect to happen in my partnership. End of quote. The Romanian Authors Collection of Corinth Publishers has recently brought out The Piano Man in the House of War, Notes from Iraq and Afghanistan. Its author is a journalist with Radio Romania's News and Current Affairs channel, Cătălin Gomboș. It is a volume of memoirs from the time when Cătălin Gomboș was a war correspondent during the Iraq War. Mr. Gomboș also covered the events in Afghanistan over 2003 and 2008. The book is also a work of analysis, focusing on the Middle East geopolitics, a field where the author is one of Romania's best specialists. The volume is written in a pleasant and brisk style, comparable to that of Richard Engel, the American author, whose books have recently been published in Romanian in Corinth Publishers' History Collection. On Saturday the 6th, 2021, How I Became a Royal Shoe, a book written by Mihaela Coșescu and illustrated by Andrei Muteșanu and brought out by the Anglicira Publishers, was launched online. The event was hosted by the Cărturești Online's Facebook page. Participants were invited to take part in a debate on shoes, more or less famous, about tails, princesses, brothers, sisters and legs. The hosts were the author Mihaela Coșescu and the illustrator Andrei Muteșanu. Among their guests, Brandi Bateș, the initiator of the We Read Together Romania project, and 5 passionate readers, Tania, Sarah, Clara, Zuka and Radu. How I Became a Royal Shoe tells the tale of a shoe that got stuck up in tar on the stairs of a palace on a ball evening when it was separated from its twin brother. Step by step, the reader follows its enthusiasm to the ball evenings, the dances, the journeys, the quests. It feels the disgust of the shoe when it is tried on by gaudy or foul-smelling feet and relishes together with the shoe, where the shoe becomes a royal shoe. The joy of the shoe, that is not for the life awaiting it at the palace, but for the shoe's reunion with its twin brother. A shoe cannot dance the dance of life all alone. The story has its roots in the classical tale of the Cinderella, the tale Mihaela Coșescu takes further, imagining new perspectives. What would Cinderella's story have been like had it been told by the shoe that got stuck up in tar on the stairs of the castle? What if the castle told the tale? Or the carriage? Or the cinder? Or the stepmother? Or Cinderella's father? How many tales are there at the same time? What are the differences between the stories? According to the one who's telling the story, How I Became a Royal Shoe is a funny and at once touching story. A story about perspectives and empathy. A story which seeks to enhance children's creativity and critical thinking. That's all we have time for in this week's installment in our regular New Names on the Cover series. Stay tuned to our programs as there's more to come in our future editions. From Eugen Nasa in Bucharest, it's goodbye.
Coming up next on Radio Romania International,
Welcome to Simply Folk, I'm Imogen Master. Together with Natalia Șerbonescu, she was the first professional traditional music vocalist from Dobroja in the southeast, as well as a precious representative of the folklore of the Romanians, a Romanian ethnic group living in Dobroja. We're speaking about Marica Pitu, an artist who passed away in 2020, but whose legacy includes traditional music pieces that mirror the soul of the man, with all its states performed in the unique Dobrojan style, just as the song you're about to listen to is. Its title is Years Come and Go.
Our broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan has come to an end. You can listen to our next program for Western Europe tomorrow at 6:30 hours UTC on 7345 kHz in analog system and on 6040 kHz in the DRM system. Listeners in Japan can listen to our next program tomorrow at 23 hours UTC on 7325 kHz and 9620 kHz. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro channel 1. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at entl@rri.ro. Goodbye.